Did you know that some of the debts you're still paying may already be gone in the eyes of the law? Many seniors in the United States are sending money every month on bills they don't legally have to pay anymore. Collectors know this, but they count on fear and confusion to keep older adults handing over their hard-earned retirement income. In this video, we're going to talk about 6 specific types of debts that you may never have to pay again. We'll explain why these debts lose their power, how collectors try to trap you, and most importantly, what your rights are as a senior living in America. The goal is simple: to protect your money, give you peace of mind, and make sure you don't spend another dollar on something the law no longer requires. For many older adults, debt is more than numbers on paper. It's a heavy weight on your shoulders. You worry about phone calls from collectors, letters arriving in the mail, or even the fear that your Social Security benefits could be taken away. The truth is, most of these threats are designed to scare you, not to inform you. Once you understand your rights, you'll see that you have far more protection than you've been led to believe. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which debts no longer deserve your money or your worry. Before we start, I'd love to know, where are you watching from today? Just drop your city or state in the comments below. And if you've ever received a call or letter about a debt that never seemed to end, share that too. Your story might give strength to another senior who is facing the same struggle and help them realize they are not alone. Number 1. Old medical bills beyond collection. For many older adults, one of the biggest financial fears comes from medical bills. A single hospital stay, surgery, or emergency room visit can leave behind thousands of dollars in charges that feel impossible to pay. Some seniors spend years trying to catch up, sending money every month, believing they have no choice. What most people don't realize is that old medical debt has an expiration date. Every state in the U.S. has something called a statute of limitations. This sets a legal time limit on how long a hospital, clinic, or collection agency can sue you to recover money. In some states, it's as short as 3 years. In others, it might be 6. But once that time runs out, the debt loses its legal power. Collectors may still call, they may still send frightening letters, but they cannot take you to court once the deadline has passed. This is important because many seniors live with the constant fear that unpaid medical bills will eat into their Social Security checks. The truth is, by federal law, Social Security benefits are protected from most creditors. A hospital cannot touch that money, no matter what threats a collector makes over the phone. Understanding this separates fact from fear and gives you the chance to breathe easier. Let me give you an example. Evelyn, a 74-year-old widow, spent years paying hundreds of dollars every month on a hospital bill from nearly a decade earlier. She thought she was being responsible, but when a legal aid attorney reviewed her case, she discovered that the statute of limitations in her state had already expired years before. All that money could have stayed in Evelyn's pocket to cover her medicine and daily needs. That one piece of knowledge changed her life. So if you are still receiving letters or phone calls about very old medical bills, pause before paying another cent. Ask the collector to confirm the age of the debt and check if the legal time limit has already passed. If it has, you may already be free. Number 2. Old credit card debt, time-barred. Credit cards can feel like a lifeline in difficult times, but for many older adults, the debt left behind has lasted far longer than the card itself. You may have stopped using the card years ago, but the balance still lingers, and collectors never seem to stop calling. What most seniors don't realize is that just like medical bills, credit card debt also comes with a statute of limitations. Once that time has passed, the lender loses the legal right to sue you for repayment. Here's the part that often confuses people. Even though the debt is legally unenforceable, collectors will still try to pressure you. They may send letters, make phone calls, or even threaten lawsuits, hoping you won't know your rights. If the debt is time-barred, meaning the statute of limitations has expired, they can no longer take you to court. The only power they have left is fear. But there's a trap you need to be aware of. In many states, if you make even a tiny payment on that old credit card balance, or if you admit over the phone that the debt is yours, you may accidentally restart the clock. That gives collectors the right to sue again, even after years of silence. This is why it's so important to pause, verify the age of the debt, and get the facts before making any moves. Take the story of Harold, a 77-year-old retired bus driver. For years, he was hounded by collection agencies about a credit card he had stopped using more than 15 years earlier. They demanded thousands of dollars and warned him of lawsuits and wage garnishment. Harold lived in constant fear, thinking he could lose part of his Social Security. Finally, with the help of a legal aid clinic, he learned that the statute of limitations had expired long ago. The collectors no longer had any real power. Once Harold stopped paying, the calls eventually ended, and his Social Security remained untouched. The lesson here is simple. If you're facing collection calls for an old credit card, don't rush. Ask how old the debt really is and find out whether the statute of limitations in your state has already expired. Number 3. Certain private student loans. Many seniors believe that student loans are a debt you can never escape. But the truth is more complicated than most people realize. Federal student loans do follow strict rules and can be difficult to erase, but private student loans are a different story. Just like credit cards and medical bills, some private student loans also have a statute of limitations. That means after a certain number of years in default, lenders may no longer have the legal right to sue for repayment. Another important point to remember is what happens to these loans when a borrower passes away. Federal student loans are typically discharged upon death, meaning they do not get passed on to children or spouses. Many private loans also cannot be collected from surviving family members unless they co-signed the loan. This means that unless your loved ones signed their name next to yours, they are not responsible. Sadly, many seniors spend years worrying that their children or grandchildren will inherit their debt, when in reality, the law does not allow that in most cases. Consider the example of Doris, an 82-year-old grandmother who once took out a private student loan for a teaching certificate decades ago. She never used the degree, but the loan followed her for years. Doris struggled to send small payments, terrified that if she stopped, her grandchildren would be left with the burden after she passed. After speaking with a nonprofit attorney, she discovered two important truths. The statute of limitations in her state had already expired, and even if it hadn't, her grandchildren could not be held responsible because they had never co-signed. That conversation lifted a huge weight off her shoulders. If you or your loved ones are being chased over an old private student loan, take the time to find out whether the statute of limitations has passed. And remember, in most cases, your children will not inherit that debt. Number 4, personal loans from friends or family. Some of the hardest debts for seniors to carry are not the ones owed to banks or credit card companies, but the ones borrowed from people close to them, neighbors, friends, or even relatives. These personal loans often come with an extra burden of guilt. You may remember a time when you borrowed money decades ago to get through an illness, a job loss, or an emergency. Even if the lender has long since moved on or even passed away, many older adults still feel the weight of that unpaid loan on their conscience. But here's the reality. If those loans were never put into a formal written contract, or if they are so old that the statute of limitations has long expired, there is no legal obligation to keep paying them. No one can take you to court over a handshake loan from 20, 30, or 40 years ago. The law recognizes that time closes these cases, even if emotions do not. Take the story of Frank, an 80-year-old retired factory worker. Back in the 1970s, he borrowed a small amount from a cousin to cover unexpected medical expenses. Over the years, he lost contact with his cousin, who has since passed away, but Frank still carried the weight of that loan. He even considered cutting back on his groceries just to send money to the cousin's adult children, even though they had no idea about the loan. When his daughter explained that the debt had no legal standing and no one expected him to pay, Frank finally felt a sense of relief. He realized he had been punishing himself for decades over something that no longer existed. The lesson here is simple. You do not need to carry guilt for personal loans that are unenforceable. Forgiving yourself is just as important as knowing your legal rights. You've already given so much to your family and community. You deserve peace, not the weight of old promises that no longer have power. Number 5. Expired medical debts. Medical bills are some of the most stressful pieces of mail for older adults to open. A single hospital stay, unexpected surgery, or emergency room visit years ago can leave behind thousands of dollars in charges. For many seniors, these old balances never really disappear. They just get passed around from one collection agency to another. The letters keep coming, the phone calls don't stop, and the fear of what if can feel overwhelming. But what many people don't realize is that just like credit cards or personal loans, medical debt also has a statute of limitations. After a certain number of years, depending on the state, the debt becomes legally uncollectible. That means hospitals and clinics can no longer take you to court to force payment. In most cases, these old accounts are sold to third-party collectors who try to make money by scaring you. They may warn you that your credit will be ruined, that services will be cut off, or that your Social Security benefits could be touched. The truth is, none of these threats stand up legally once the debt has expired. By federal law, Social Security is protected from most creditors, and hospitals cannot refuse you future care just because of a bill that went unpaid many years ago. Consider the story of Lorraine, an 82-year-old widow. She received a notice demanding thousands of dollars for a hospital visit from the late 1990s. The letter frightened her, and she spent sleepless nights wondering how she would ever pay. Finally, with the help of a senior legal counselor, Lorraine learned that the statute of limitations on that debt had expired long ago. No collector had the right to sue her, and no hospital could deny her future treatment because of it. That single phone call gave her back her peace of mind. The important takeaway here is this: expired medical debts are not yours to carry forever. If you receive a collection notice for a bill that is decades old, don't panic. Check the age of the debt first. Number 6. Utility bills after death. One of the worries many older adults carry quietly is what will happen to their household bills after they pass away. Things like electricity, gas, or water are part of daily life, and when balances build up, seniors often fear that their children or spouse will be left responsible. Collectors sometimes make this worse by hinting that loved ones will be chased for payment, creating unnecessary guilt in families who are already doing their best. But here's the truth: unpaid utility bills do not automatically transfer to your children or spouse unless their names are also on the account. When the account holder dies, the utility company will usually close the account. A new account may need to be opened by the surviving family if they continue living in the home, but they are responsible only for charges moving forward, not for any balance left behind. Collectors may try to confuse families during a difficult time, but legally they cannot force children to pay their parents' old bills. This protection is especially important for seniors who worry that their limited income or past due balances will become a burden to the people they love most. Take the example of Walter, a 79-year-old grandfather. For years, he worried that his children would inherit his overdue water and electric bills. He imagined them struggling to pay for something that wasn't their fault. But after speaking with a local attorney, Walter learned the truth. Those debts ended with him. His family would never be responsible unless their names were also on the accounts. That knowledge lifted a heavy weight from his shoulders and gave him peace to focus on what really mattered: time with his grandchildren. The lesson here is simple. Utility debts are tied to the account holder, not the family. If you've been losing sleep over the thought of passing bills on to your loved ones, let that fear go. Once you're gone, the account is closed, and your children or spouse are not legally responsible for what came before. As we grow older, the last thing we should worry about is paying debts that no longer have any legal power. Yet many seniors across the United States are still sending money to collectors for bills that time has already erased. These include old medical balances, expired credit card debts, certain private student loans, handshake loans from decades ago, and even worries about utility bills that do not pass on to family. Collectors keep calling because they know fear works, but fear only lasts until you know your rights. The truth is, the law protects you more than you may realize. Once the statute of limitations has passed, collectors cannot take you to court. And Social Security benefits, which so many seniors depend on, are safeguarded by federal law. That means the money you rely on for food, medicine, and daily living is yours to keep. But this isn't only about money, it's about peace of mind. Too many seniors carry guilt, believing they must keep paying forever. In reality, some of these debts have no claim on your life anymore. Letting go doesn't mean avoiding responsibility. It means protecting your dignity and using your hard-earned income where it matters most, on your health, your comfort, and the people you love. So take a deep breath. Not every bill in your mailbox deserves your attention. Knowledge is freedom, and by knowing which debts no longer hold power, you give yourself back control, security, and peace in your retirement years.